Put your faith in the light.
Hello guys, welcome to another one of my videos. This is Lightblade, and well guys, finally the Retribution Paladin talent Revamp is scheduled to be there on 10.0.7. With this, Blizzard is going to attempt to change and fix a lot of the problems that plague Retribution Paladins. Damage is not actually one of our problems at the moment. Damage is pretty solid for Red Paladins, especially in Mythic Plus dungeons where there's a lot of targets. Consecration does a ton of it, and Consecration is also one of those outliers why we are getting this rework, because even though we do damage, the way we do it doesn't feel right, you know, it just feels so clunky and so weird. We also have problems like button bloat we have too many stuff to press. One of the biggest outliers there is exorcism, and even though it deals a ton of damage, like let's check here, the thing does 15k up front and 20k as a dot. We don't take that because it's just not worth pressing. There's too much cost benefit in that talent. You rather press either a Divine Storm, either a Radiant Decree, or just refresh Consecration, because that's going to give you more damage on the long run. So we have a lot of abilities that do not have a place currently for Reds. The talent tree, like I said before, is an abomination. It's horrible. We have abilities that are like 2-point talents that give you barely an increase in damage, like 0.1, 0.2%. Some others that do not interact whatsoever with our kit. Others that do no healing or no damage, like I said. But there's that talent tree is an abomination. So Blizzard is going to fix that with this revamp. And now we're going to go and read the blue post and what are their philosophy when doing these changes, and let's see if they hit all the marks or are missing some stuff. Let's go to the blue post. Okay, here we are at the blue post, guys. So I'm just going to read each point. I'm going to tell you guys my thoughts about them and if Blizzard is hitting the mark or is missing something. So let's start with the first point, which is button bloat. So Retribution Paladins currently have a fairly large number of abilities, and some of these feel unnecessary and efficient. This is totally true. We're working on toning this down and have a more focused set of abilities and cooldown. So there's two abilities, like basic abilities, that come into mind here that are the biggest offenders, and there's one cooldown ability that also is a big offender. The first two abilities are Exorcism and Consecration, and there is a pretty decent fix for both of these abilities. First of all, let's talk about the biggest one of the both, which is Exorcism, which currently, even though it does a lot of damage, a lot of Red Paladins are just ignoring it, because even though, like I said, damage is good, where do we press this button? You know, there is not many global or open global cooldowns to put this thing in. You rather just drop another Consecration or just use a Divine Storm, you know, because of the cost benefit thing, instead of choosing Exorcism. The way to fix this ability would be just make it a replacement for Blade of Justice. So instead of pressing, when you press Blade of Justice, it's now Exorcism. It does holy damage, it generates holy power, and it has the dot component for AoE. This would give us an AoE holy power generator with the dot of the Exorcism, and would also make Blade of Justice, well, now Exorcism, scale with Mastery. Of course, they would have to tone down the numbers because currently it does a ton of damage, but if we make it a Holy Power generator, then we have to just lower its damage a lot. But it's still, I think it would be worth it because it would scale with our Master, which would be a good benefit for it. Now, for Consecration, so this one, I don't really have a problem on pressing Consecration at the moment. I know it feels bad when stuff is when there's heavy movement, but it does very good damage, you know. So what I would do is make Consecration follow the Paladin at all times, and whenever you proc like a random Blade of Justice Consecration, it also spawns on top of you. So this way your Consecration damage is never wasted because you move wherever the Consecration moves. So since they're doing a big fix on all talents, they could just adjust some of the talents that would be kind of overpowered with this. For example, the one that makes Consecration not reduce our movement speed under 80%, they could just change that to something else, and so that would be like fair, I guess, in PvP scenarios. For PvE, this would be great because I know it is a really bad feeling whenever you press Consecration, then you drop a proc of Consecration, so you have two of them going in a pack and the tank just moves stuff away from it, and then you lose all that big damage that was in the ground just back there, you know. So that would be the fix for Consecration, I think. On the cooldown abilities that we have below, currently we have 4 abilities that are cooldowns that we use to do our open air rotation or most of our big burst damage. First one is Wings. I don't think we have to push that, that's just a paladin thing. Second one is Seraphim, then is Final Reckoning and Divine Toll. Those are the 4 big cooldowns that we could say that we use to do our big burst of damage. Of those, I think the only one that would have to go would be Seraphim. Seraphim is currently just an annoying button to press. You just do it at the start of your 1 or 2 minute cooldown burst window, and that's pretty much it. You just press the thing and forget it. The way they could fix this is just erase Seraphim and make the proc of Seraphim a bit stronger so it matches the current uptime of having the Seraphim ability, you know. So they could just add maybe 1 second to the proc of Seraphim, so it would be now 5 seconds instead of 4, and we still have the ability technically, but it now doesn't need a press, and it's more sustainy damage than it is burst, because we don't have control on whenever we are going to get it, but when we get it we're doing big damage, you know. So that would be the fix for that. Let's go to the next one. Stacking modifiers. So there are currently several talents and abilities that provide stacking bonuses, which can make for a confusing and messy playstyle that deals extreme burst damage, but in turn it leaves your core abilities feeling unsatisfied and undertuned. We intend to significantly change this. We want your core abilities to feel good and powerful when used in all situations. This doesn't mean that we're reducing all elements of burst, but we do want to make burst more purposeful and deliberate, while also allowing options that provide sustained damage. So this is basically saying that they're going to cut our burst damage down, but in turn we're going to get stronger basic abilities, you know. So I'm thinking they're going to increase the damage of our spenders, but we're going to lose some of our burst damage cooldowns. I think the one that has to go is, like I said before, Seraphim. Seraphim just gives you too many stats, too much damage increase on a too long duration. It's just too reliable, you know. So the way to do this is, like I said before, just remove Seraphim, increase the duration of Ashes to Ashes, the proc of Seraphim, you know, make it like 1 second longer. That way we still have the sustained damage portion of the Seraphim mini procs, while we lose the reliable just pressing the button of Seraphim at the start of each cooldown phase, you know. I think this is going to be more healthy for red paladins. In the past, for example, in Legion, we only had 1 damage cooldown. It was just Wings, and then we just, although those Wings lasted like 42 seconds, Wings was our only damage cooldown, and then everything else just dealt damage, you know. On that note, I forgot to mention one thing on the bottom bloat part, which is we could just remove Consecration and put Divine Hammers there, you know. It's same thing. Okay, going back to stacking modifiers, I think this is the way to go with them. Remove one of them because there's too many, and make it the sustained playstyle of Retribution Paladin better, you know. And this is going to be really good for keys, because in keys you do want to always be dealing damage, you know. And sometimes we don't have any cooldowns, you're just dry and you're there doing less damage than a tank. Okay, so now let's go to the next point. Survivability. Retribution Paladins currently have one of the highest death rates across all forms of content. Yep, that is right. For a plate-wearing class with hybrid healing, this doesn't feel right. We're looking to strengthen them through a mixture of passive bonus and improvements to active abilities and cooldowns, while keeping the degree of challenge that results from being a melee-based spec. So yes, this is totally true, and I'm really happy they're looking into this, because red paladins are really damn squishy, you know. We do not have many damage reduction nodes in our talent trees. A lot of classes, for example, Demon Hunters, Warlocks, Warriors, have a lot of stamina nodes that they can take to just become a lot sturdier. Death Knights, for example, have just passive gains, damage reduction, and like passive shield gains. So that would be really good to have for Retribution Paladins. Maybe give us some extra like a node that makes our overhealing like a shield, like something like we had in Shadowlands when we used Word of Glory. Whatever healing we got became a shield after, you know. That would be really nice. And maybe give us some extra stamina nodes so that we are like sturdier just in general, and we can take a hit and then just recover after that. On the active ability and cooldowns, maybe they give us spell warding back, although that's kind of a pipe dream, because, well, the spell warding has a chance of breaking a lot of encounters, because we would have too many immunities to magic damage, you know. We got bubble, we got divine shield, and all those things. One thing that could be more sure is that they make the cooldown of divine protection similar to the Shield of Vengeance one. Currently, Shield of Vengeance is 1 minute cooldown ability, and divine protection is 1.5 minutes. ability, you know. So I think making them both 1 minute would be really good, because that way we can choose and pick whatever we need for the perfect situations. For example, Shield of Vengeance sometimes just breaks immediately when we are facing rot damage, while in those situations having Divine Protection would be better. So I'm really happy they're looking into this, and well, let's see what they do, you know, to make us a bit sturdier in all types of content. Let's go now to the next point. Okay, so maneuverability. We recognize that there is an issue here and we hope to make some improvements. However, we want to set clear expectations. Retribution Paladins should not expect to gain the mobility of rogues. So yeah, our mobility is kind of lacking, you know. Horse does get the job done, but it's not a very good mobility cooldown, you know. I kind of made my peace with it, you know. It's whatever. Horse just gets, like I said, the job done. But I think the easy way here and the best solution that they could do is just give us back like long arm of the law, like they did at the start of the beta cycle in Dragonflight. Having that extra 20% movement increase whenever we use a judgment is just a really good quality of life, especially since it's movement that is only useful when in combat, you know. It's not that we can just be sprinting all the time. We have to be in combat to get that bonus movement speed. We've had these types of bonuses in the past. For example, if you remember in BFA, there was some right traits that gave you 7% of your highest secondary stat of speed, you know. So normally you took 3 of those, you stacked them up, and you got like 21% extra movement speed all the time, which was really powerful back then. So I think that's the easy way out. Just give us back long arm of the law, and red paladins should be good. We do not need like a jump or anything like that, because although yeah, it would be cool, you know, having the Templar jump from the Diablo Crusader, you know, the one that he throws the sword and then you teleport there. That would be really good to have. I don't think they're going to give that type of mobility to Retribution Paladins, but just making us move a bit faster in combat would be such a big improvement. So my hopes are not super high here, because I know they're not going to give us anything crazy, but just give us a nice quality of life in movement and we should be fine. Now let's go to the last point. Okay, so the last point is utility. The changes that Dragonflight brought to Retribution have caused some conflict for players, forcing red paladins to choose between providing benefits to their groups or benefiting themselves. This choice can be interesting, but due to the way that this historically worked for paladins, it hasn't felt right in Dragonflight. So we're looking to make changes here that allow you to feel good and improve your own damage while also providing the group benefits that you're used to. We're also looking into additional utility improvements for paladins during the 10.0.7 test cycle. So what this lets me to believe is that they're doing something to Retribution aura, you know, because currently the thing is the anti-definition of an aura. It doesn't help anyone in your group, it only helps yourself. So it's basically just an aura in name but not in practice. So I'm hoping they're going to do something with that, because it always felt really bad to having to sacrifice DPS to use Devotion aura, even though Devotion aura by itself is a really powerful boon to your group. I normally, when I'm doing like high level content with my group, like my push group, I always take Devotion aura, because I think as a group taking 15% less damage is going to offset whatever damage I can get from the Seraphim, you know, so the Seraphim procs or the free wings that I could get from Retribution aura. So as myself, I don't want to lose the benefits of Devotion aura, but it would be nice to get something for using Retribution aura, you know, so that could be a thing. So they talk about additional utility improvements. So I don't really know what they could actually give us. Maybe they could give us the Legion blessings, like Blessing of Wisdom, Blessing of Kings. Back then, Kings just gave a shield to whoever you put it on, and Wisdom gave percentage mana to whoever you put it on. Normally that was the healer, and they were really happy because they had infinite mana almost. And there was also Blessing of Might back then, but I'm not really keen on getting Blessing of Might back, because it works similarly to how Blessing of Summer used to in Shadowlands. So it converts a certain percentage of the damage of the person that has the blessing into holy damage. But then you go into the argument on, you normally want to put it on yourself, you know, but maybe your raid group or whoever like tells you put it on someone else because they're going to get more benefits. So that it doesn't feel right, you know. So I'd rather they do not bring back Blessing of Might, or if they bring it back, just let it put on yourself and don't put it on anyone else, you know. But I don't want those issues happening to red paladins, having to pick someone to put the blessing on and those things, you know. I'm fine with Kings, I'm fine with Blessing of Wisdom, but not Blessing of Might. Other utility that we could get is maybe group healing, like give Divine Storm back. It's like a group healing depending on the percentage of damage it deals, you know? That would be really good when you're doing like a big pull of mobs and you're just Divine Storming the hell out of some mobs. You're also healing the group, you know? Like a secondary option healer without sacrificing some damage. That would be also another option for utility that we could get. Anyways, that's all for utility. I'm happy they're looking into it and giving us something more, and we also won't have to sacrifice DPS for it. Anyways, guys, I'm really happy for this rework. Like, at least we know they're working on it. I actually knew this. I told you guys that they were going to do something about Retribution Paladins and Dragonflight, because, well, they couldn't leave our talent tree like that. It's an abomination currently. There's some stuff that doesn't even work or does like 0 damage or 0 healing, like I said at the start of the video. So I'm happy of these changes. Let me know down in the comments what your expectations are, or maybe some ideas that you have of how they're going to change stuff, you know. For now, that's going to be all for today. If you like my content, subscribe to the channel and leave a like to the video. Thanks for watching, everyone.